Hello, Superboy Beyond fans. Welcome back. It's Chris and Tom here with another one of our Beyond commentaries. We're technically going back to Superboy, but also Beyond today because we are doing a classic episode of the Superfriends, History of Doom, which features the first adaptation of Lex Luthor's classic Silver Age origin. And I figured since Tom has never seen this.
No, I've never seen. I mean, Super Friends, the only episode I think I've watched through is the one that we did a commentary on a while back.
Which is Universe of Evil. Yep.
That's the one. Yeah, that's all I've seen, really. So
yeah, eventually we'll have to also do Lex Luthor Strikes Back, which is a really good one as well.
I know we're going to do Return of the Phantoms at some point soon. I don't know when, but yeah, it will be soon. Yeah.
Although when we do Return of the Phantoms, we should do that back to back with the first episode that they appeared in, so that we can compare and contrast what was going on.
That's cool with me. Yeah, definitely. We'll do them back to back, week to week. Yeah, that'd be fun.
So get yourselves ready. I'm going to count you in. I'm not going to go over our usual BS, so to speak.
Go through it quickly. There's a heavily filtered version up there in the middle, but you won't hear audio. Yeah, it's purely so you can keep in time. That's it.
Yeah. So this is, if you're using the old DVD sets, which was the Challenge of the Super Friends set, which was, I think, the first volume of Super Friends, this would be Disc 2, Side 2. Okay. If you are using the big box set that just recently came out, I have no idea where it's located. I'm actually, since I still have my old sets, I haven't gotten rid of them yet. I'm just going to use the old set here. So get yourselves ready.
You said it was Side 2. Are they double-sided DVDs then?
When Warner Brothers released the Super Friends originally, there was one disc that had artwork on it. That was disc 1, and then disc 2 was a double-sided.
Interesting. Must have been a way to save money, but I can't imagine it would have saved them that much. But then again, if it wasn't going to save them money, they wouldn't have done it.
Yeah.
Let's face it.
Yeah. So I'm going to count you in with a 3, 2, 1. Look up in the sky. So get yourselves ready, guys. This is going to be Challenge of the Super Friends. Well, it was only one season of that it was called Challenge of the Super Friends, but Challenge of the Super Friends, episode 16, History of Doom. Okay, so we're going to count you in with a 3, 2, 1. Look up in the sky. So get yourselves ready. 3, 2, 1. Look up in the sky. And I have to say the intro of the Super Friends when it was Challenge of the Super Friends is so iconic. You see all of the classic DC foes here.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's interesting that the intro sequence starts with the villains instead of the heroes.
Yep. But the interesting part is, it refers to them being from across the galaxies. And when we look at all these foes, there's only a couple of them that are actually from outside of Earth.
I guess if there's at least one, they can claim that they're from across the universe.
Yeah.
It's funny how they kept changing the name. You don't really get that these days. Like, it's very, very rare that a TV show will change its name in its, 5th season.
Yeah.
I always thought Smallville should have. At a certain point, they should have renamed Smallville to Metropolis, just because there was, one scene per episode in Smallville and everything else was in Metropolis. But there you go. I guess it would have been difficult to market it and all of that.
So we're panning in on Earth now, and it is in complete ruin.
Mm. Yeah, the Eiffel Tower's falling over. There's shipwrecks, and Statue of Liberty's actually underwater. I don't know how that would happen, but there you go. I guess the earthquake that tore apart these streets must have had done it, you know.
Yeah. And now we've got an alien spacecraft coming down to land. One thing I'm liking about the trio of aliens is Hanna-Barbera was very keen upon trying to diversify aliens in the sense of, there wasn't always just, three white people. You do have one quote unquote African American in the group.
Yeah, it's good. I will say this, considering they're aliens, I kind of wish they looked a little bit more alien. Like, even if they just added like forehead like ridges like the Klingons, or they kind of just look like time traveling like monks or wizards from like medieval history.
Yeah.
I will say though that all the like the paintings they've got for the backgrounds in this episode so far look fantastic. Like all the destroyed cityscapes with the turned over cars, and yeah, it just looks really cool. Like whoever they had doing all of those paintings, like yeah, it just did an absolutely dynamite job.
Yeah.
It's an interesting idea that they found a post-apocalyptic Earth and they're learning about what happened in this way.
Yeah.
It's an interesting idea.
Now,
does this mean that in the canon of Super Friends that eventually the Super Friends just fail and the Earth gets destroyed? Is that the actual ending for this universe?
No.
Okay. I was going to say, because bloody hell, that's a wacky idea.
So we're now watching Lex Luthor save Superboy from kryptonite.
And that is a giant chunk of kryptonite as well.
Yeah.
Lex probably would be kicking himself in the modern day for dumping that in the river. Although now, I'm sure he goes back to get it.
The interesting thing about casting here is, of course, you've got actor Danny Dark doing the voice of Superboy, and he was the main voice of Superman throughout the series. And the voice of the young Lex Luthor is Michael Bell, who we've discussed before when we do the Ruby Spears series. He later went on to play Lex Luthor in the Ruby Spears series.
Brilliant. I've got to say, I like how close they seem to be adapting it. Like the artwork isn't identical, but just from my own memory of reading the comic, which granted was years ago at this point, they're doing a really good job of adapting it here.
Yeah, I mean it's typical Hanna-Barbera animation style, so it's not going to look one-on-one.
No,
but
I wouldn't expect it to be honest. It's about as close as you could hope for, really.
And he came up with the kryptonite cure, just like he did in the comic.
Well, that was clumsy. You can tell that it's the same Superman voice, just at a slightly higher pitched, and it works. You know, it feels like the voice that character would have at a younger age.
And if you watch the animation on Lex's head, you can see the hair actually falling out as he's moving.
Yeah, looks great.
there was a lot of detail put into Lex and his origin.
Hmm.
Now we're coming up on a section with Gigantus origin, which they completely altered for the series. In the original comics, Giganta, of course, was a foe of Wonder Woman, and she was actually a circus strong woman who had the brain of an intelligent ape put inside of her, kind of a reverse of the Ultra Humanite.
I wonder why they changed it for the show then.
I think they wanted to tie her origin more in with Apache Chief.
Fair enough, I guess. They had very limited screen time.
Yeah.
If they're going to show an origin, for multiple characters, I guess it makes sense to bring them together, but
And the interesting thing is the words that he uses to increase his size, Inukchuk, that is actually Apache for grow big.
cool. I like that sort of attention to detail.
Just like when we're dealing with the character of Samurai in the other seasons, the phrases that he uses to change his form, like Kazino yo ni hayaku, that means turn into wind.
I'm glad they did that because let's face it probably wouldn't have taken them very long to find those translations.
It's an interesting idea, the villains teaming up to oppose the heroes, but like any other villain team, they don't know how to work together.
Hmm. I mean, it makes sense they would clash. They're all very big personalities. Is that Sinestro?
Yep.
I'm not used to seeing him in blue. I guess I'm not familiar enough with him earlier on enough. He's either always in green or yellow for me.
Yeah. That is his definite, 1960s, 70s, and 80s costume. It's classic.
Gotta say, I think he looks better in yellow. But it's not a bad costume.
One thing you can say by looking at the roster of the Legion of Doom, it is very top heavy with Superman foes. It has a couple of Batman foes, a couple of Flash foes, and a couple of Wonder Woman foes, and then nobody else. The original lineup that they wanted for the show was going to have more. Well, the Super Friends themselves would have had Captain Marvel in it, and it would have been made up of some of his. The Legion of Doom would have been made up with some of his foes.
How come they couldn't do it? Was there a separate animated show with him at the time or something?
Well, the rights to Captain Marvel was being held by Filmation, and they were doing that live action Filmation show. That was also a Saturday morning show at the time.
I never saw that. Is it any good?
It's okay. It for a live action superhero TV show in the 70s, it's okay. We'll just leave it at that.
About on par with the Incredible Hulk, would you say? Or is Hulk better?
Hulk is way better.
Okay. That's a show that I wouldn't mind watching at some point. Maybe we'll watch, if we ever do delve into anything Marvel, that's a show that I wouldn't mind
Mm.
looking into. That and the Nicholas Hammond Spider-Man. I'd like to see that as well.
I
I've
love
only seen the
Nicholas Hammond
first.
Spider-Man.
Huh?
I love Nicholas Hammond
Yeah.
Spider-Man.
I've seen the first one, and I remember thinking it was quite funny that Uncle Leo from Seinfeld was one of the bad guys in it, and he's like
The other thing is
he's really young.
there's a DC voice actor alum in the actual first episode.
Is there? Who?
Bob Hastings is one of the cops.
Wow. Okay. So yeah, maybe at some point, if we ever do delve into anything Marvel, maybe we'll go completely retro and just watch Incredible Hulk and Spider-Man.
Yep.
I remembered quite liking the 90s Incredible Hulk animated series. Maybe that would be one worth watching as well. I especially remember liking it when Grey Hulk was introduced. Grey Hulk was great in that show.
Yeah, I think that was the second season.
Take us a while to reach it then, but oh well. We could react to the 90s X-Men, but honestly, I think there's got to be somebody else already reacting to that on YouTube. I can't imagine there's not. Not with it coming back, you know.
So now this section of the history of Doom is just it's basically just clip show era stuff.
Is this all from previous episodes then?
Yes, the Giants of Doom and the attack on Gorilla City is being reused here.
I do like Gorilla Grodd. I always think he's a character that I wish would be used a little bit more often. I'd love to see him in the new DCU, you know. Be really cool to have him as a villain in something.
Yeah, but
I imagine it'll be a while till they use the Flash again, though, to be honest.
Yeah, let's hope that they do him better than they did him on the Flash TV series.
I liked him at first on the Flash TV series, but as that show went on, the writing just got worse and worse. I didn't even bother watching the end, to be honest.
I don't think anybody's done him better than the way they did him in Justice League and Justice League Unlimited with Powers Booth as the voice.
Yeah, I mean, those shows adapted so many villains so well. I'd be very surprised if that wasn't the best version, to be honest. Let's face it, though, Warner Brothers got all this technology for making really realistic apes from the Planet of the Apes films. Reuse one of those and just bring in Gorilla Grodd. You know, it'd probably save them a ton of money because all the 3D modeling work is done. You would just have to hire the same studio to animate and do the motion capture.
Well, actually, Warner Brothers wasn't involved with Planet of the Apes. That was 20th Century Fox.
Oh, was it? Yeah. Damn, I could have sworn it was Warner Brothers for some reason.
But
no, Warner Brothers Kong Skull Island, I think.
And Legend of Tarzan.
Yeah, that was shit, though.
Yes, but the apes were good.
But yeah, Kong looked good in Skull Island, so maybe they could just reuse that for Grodd. That'd be fine.
I think they would better use that for Titano if we ever had a Titano live action for Superman.
Yeah, you could just recolor the fur though, and then you've got multiple apes.
Yep.
Add a skull or something to one of them, you know.
So now our three aliens are going to the destroyed Hall of Doom to find out what the hell happened, because the rest of the Super Friends' tapes in the Hall of Justice are destroyed.
It's such a cool idea as well, with the Hall of Doom being at the bottom of a swamp. It's just such a cool idea for a villain's lair. The way it lowers into the water and comes back up again. Yeah.
Well, if if we recall from watching the origin of it, they were all fighting over where they should put their headquarters. And finally Luthor said, "You know what? We're just going to put it in the swamp."
It works. Who's going to be checking there for it, really?
Depends.
I imagine Swamp Thing would have something to say. Yeah.
Except we never had a version of Swamp Thing in this continuity.
What a shame. Although I suppose at this point in time, it would have been the pre-Alan Moore Swamp Thing, I imagine.
Yes.
So maybe it's for the best. Let's face it. Swamp Thing became great when Alan Moore took over. I haven't even read most of it, and yeah, you can see the difference.
Mm.
Even just the changes he made to the origin story, Although I wouldn't mind watching the Swamp Thing movies at some point, just because I've heard they're not that bad. I've heard they're quite entertaining.
The first one is very good, but then
Okay.
again, Louis Jourdan is great as Arcane. The second one is kind of a shit show.
Is it at least an entertaining shit show? Because I love bad movies.
It's one of those so bad it's good.
Good. Okay.
But
Well,
Sarah
maybe.
Douglas is actually in it as an evil scientist.
Okay. Well, that's another reason to watch.
That was her second of four forays into the DC universe.
Hmm. Completely talking over this episode, I know, but Green Lantern's got a cool design in this. You can definitely tell that's Hal Jordan. Like
Mm,
sometimes you see artists draw Green Lantern, and unless you look at the costume, you can't tell whether that's Hal Jordan or Carl Rayner.
yeah.
And it's just, you know, they look too similar when some artists draw them. Here you can tell that's Hal Jordan. Maybe it's the hairstyle that does it.
It's the hairstyle plus the fact that at that time there were only two known major Green Lanterns in the comics, and that was Alan Scott
Yeah,
or Hal Jordan.
yeah. When was John Stewart introduced? Was that the 80s or the 70s?
That was, I think, post this.
Right.
So after this is when he first came about.
I think he's most people's favourite. Probably mostly because of the animated series. But I don't
Well,
know. I've always been a Carl Rayner fan personally. I always love the idea of a comic book artist drawing a story about a comic book artist who's a Green Lantern. It's
yeah.
just there's something about that concept that just tickles me.
Well, I grew up in the 70s and 80s, so my Green Lantern is Hal Jordan.
You must have really hated when he turned evil then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I understood why it happened, but it
I've heard it's a
still,
good story, but it was just there's people that think it was a bit of a slap in the face. But then he turned good again eventually.
yeah,
There is something fun about doing a hero turned villain. Oh, so they're reversing all the damage, are
they're reversing time on Earth.
they? I must have been talking over it, but did they actually work out what it was that did it in the first place? What was it?
Yep, Luthor sent a missile into the sun that's causing this giant solar flare to come to Earth, and the Super Friends put a force field around the Earth, but unfortunately, the way it interacts with the solar flare is it cooks the Earth.
Ah, I do like the design of their spaceship, the aliens. Mostly the color scheme with the red stripe going down the side. It reminds me a bit of the Star Trek animated series.
And they save the Earth by causing the sun to go in front of the moon to go in front of the sun to prevent the flare from hitting the Earth.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a cool looking spaceship. You know, not a lot of detail to it, but it's a cool looking ship. I like the
Yep.
shape of it. Yeah. So yeah, that was fun. There's something really fun about the concept of like going into this universe and actually seeing what happens when the villains win and like the aftermath of all of that. It's just really really cool.
But of course, this is the typical slap in the face story like the whole death of Bobby Ewing from Dallas. How it all
Yeah.
turned out to be a dream.
Yeah, I think I would give this episode out of, like, I'm just gonna skip ahead to giving this a score out of 10. I would give it about a 7.5, but I think it would have been an easy 8.5 if they revealed that no, this is just the end point of this universe. Eventually they will fail.
Yeah,
And I don't know, maybe you could show like a little thing like showing that they helped some humans escape to a colony off world somewhere or something. Like humanity goes on and the heroes are now protecting this colony. Like they could do like a little thing like that just to give it a slight happy ending. But I don't know. I think it would have been really ballsy if they just said, "No, this is just how it ends." Unfortunately, they're fighting so many villains every single week. Eventually, someone wins.
yeah,
Um, it would have been a real downer, and it probably would have made a lot of kids cry. But yeah, I don't know. I think it would have been fun.
yep. I mean, I have it as high as I do. I have this episode as an 8.
Okay.
Okay, because this was, and I hate to say this, even though I love the Filmation series, this was my first introduction to animated Superboy. I didn't see the Filmation Superboys until the 90s.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
it's not as late as I did. We've only just started.
Yeah.
I think I've seen one episode of that, and I couldn't find any others, so that's why we've not reacted to them.
Yeah. I didn't see the Filmation Superboys until I got a hold of a VHS copy of the Superboy Superpowers collection VHS,
Mm.
which was all it was four tapes: Superman, Superboy, Batman, and Aquaman, and it was all select episodes from their respective series. And I still have that VHS that I bought when I started working at Blockbuster.
I got rid of all my old videotapes, and yeah, I'm a little bit upset that I did. I know I had the Fleischer Superman. At least it was one VHS. I don't know if it had every episode, but it had a few.
Yeah.
Um, I wish I still had that. I had the New Adventures of Batman and Robin on VHS, and it was starting with the Cool Cruel Mr. Freeze, which I think was just episode 1, and I
Mm.
think it had about 5 or 6 episodes on it, but that was it. But I really enjoyed that as a kid. I bought it because the VHS artwork was, I think, purposely designed to look like the Bruce Timm animated series, like it was trying to trick kids into buying it.
Mm.
Um, but I got it at a car boot sale, like secondhand, and I enjoyed it for what it was. I didn't think it was as good as the Bruce Timm version, but yeah, I
Well,
wish I still had that VHS tape, even if it
the,
was just to display or something.
the thing about the Bruce Timm series is it was adult stories written in a way that kids could understand it too, even though there
Yeah.
was still stuff that would go right over a kid's head.
Hmm. Yeah. It's that's one of the reasons, honestly, why I think Super Friends, this episode specifically, doesn't quite reach an 8 for me. It felt, especially when you pointed out that part of it was just a clip show as well. I obviously, as I haven't seen the original episode, I can't really speak to what effect that had on me. Like, if you hadn't have told me, I would have assumed it was just another segment animated for this episode. But yeah, I don't know. 7.75 if we split the difference.
Okay, we'll go with that.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. Super Friends so far, it's just not quite grabbing me in the same way. It is sparking some fun conversations though, so I'm happy
Yeah.
to keep reacting to it.
Plus, I
Um,
mean, this
yeah,
this this was the only animated version of Superboy we had in the 70s, because there was no Superboy or Superman cartoon other than Super Friends.
yeah.
The Filmation series, I think, may have been in reruns on some local networks here and there, but not really.
Hmm.
So
I suppose Super Friends was the big sort of phenomenon for a while. That's why it lasted so very long. Like,
yeah,
how many
from
seasons is it?
1974 until 1985, so it lasted 11 years, in
Wow.
a lot of it in reruns, because there were a couple of years there where they were not producing new episodes.
Huh.
So all you got was just rerun after rerun after rerun.
Which I imagine would have been fine. Home video release wasn't really a thing at that time.
Yeah,
Watching it there or watching it on a rerun is pretty much the only way you could see it. So I guess that it was probably reaching a load of viewers that hadn't seen those episodes, just maybe
yeah,
because they were too early or something, or they were
yeah.
busy that week.
I remember, I think it was 1982. I must have been like 7, almost 8 years old at the time. And it was the summer in between second and third grade. And Channel 11 here in New York, WPIX, was running the Super Friends daily, but you'd also have the brand new episodes on Saturday mornings on Channel 7, WABC.
So
So,
you could watch 2 episodes in the same week from completely different eras of the show.
well, technically 6 episodes a week.
Jeez, I didn't realize it was on that often.
Oh
Blimey.
yeah, 5 days a week, Monday through Friday on
Huh.
Channel 11, and then one day on Channel 7.
I
But the
guess it
problem
makes
with it,
sense.
yeah, the problem with the ones on Channel 11 is more often than not you would get the first season, which was the Wendy, Marvin, and Wonder Dog era.
Right.
Less said about that, the better.
I am going to include them in the thumbnail just because the graphic I found includes them, so I might as well. But
Yeah.
yeah.
But when I
Why did
first
they
saw it,
create new characters for it? I mean, if they had access to the whole DC library, almost the whole DC library, why would you create 2 new characters when you could just reuse someone from the comics? It just doesn't make sense to me.
I have no idea.
It's like there must be if they wanted a talking animal or something. There are talking animals in DC that you could
Well, Wonder
use.
Dog wasn't a talking animal. He was just
Was he
more.
not?
He was.
I
He
I thought he talked a bit like Scooby Doo. Half
he
English. You
he
could sort of
acted like
understand, but not
Scooby
quite.
Doo, but he didn't talk so much.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you
Um,
can tell I've not actually seen the
yeah,
early
the
seasons. I just
Wendy,
don't.
Marvin, and Wonder Dog era of the show was basically just Scooby Doo with superheroes. That's all it was.
Which is fine, but yeah, I don't know. Scooby Doo already has so many crossovers. If you're going to do something like that, just have it be Scooby Doo.
Yeah,
Just do one of those Scooby Doo specials. Like the movies like Scooby Doo meets Batman or Dracula or the Harlem Globetrotters or whatever. Yeah.
yeah. And
I don't know. It just
the
doesn't
the
make sense to
only
me.
the interesting thing about the characters of Wendy, Marvin, and Wonder Dog is Marvin's name is Marvin White, and it was established in the canon that he was the nephew of
Perry.
Perry White.
Huh.
I don't see why
I
they
don't
would
love
need.
that. I don't love that, to be honest. I think it makes more sense in a show like Superboy when you have the son of Perry White. But I don't know. You would think that if Perry White had a nephew or a niece or whatever that had superpowers, you would think that would come up somewhere in the
Well,
rest of canon. But
Marvin didn't have any powers. He just acted brave. He was kind of like the Shaggy of the show.
huh. I'll be honest. I know you're trying to put me off it a little bit, but you're kind of selling it to me a little bit. I don't know.
I had a
I like
feeling.
Scooby. I like Scooby Doo, and I like Shaggy. So I don't know. Maybe at some point we'll watch something from season 1. I'm in no rush though, because as I say, Super Friends is not my favorite version of DC at all.
It
That's
does have
mostly
it.
just because of animation style. I just it's
Yeah.
so low budget looking. I find it hard to get invested sometimes. But
It
this
wasn't
episode had some
until the
great
final
painting. So
season when the animation really pumped up.
okay, so maybe
Because
we'll
at
watch an
that
episode from the last year just to
Yeah,
see the
because at
difference.
that time when they were doing the final year, which was called the uh, Superpowers Legendary Galactic Guardians, their model sheets for the characters they were using were taken from Jose Luis Garcia Lopez.
Okay.
During the original era of the show, it was really more Alex Toth. that they were using. So it kind of looked a little bland. And I'm not saying that Alex Toth's artwork is bland. Okay, it's just
I would say it looked a little bit bland during the Superboy Lex Luthor scene in this episode, especially the character designs. I just thought it was very undetailed. I mean, I get why they would purposely not put a lot of detail on Superboy, because you put too many lines on the face and it just ages him.
yeah.
It's like that season of Justice League, or is it Justice League Unlimited, where they randomly added extra lines on Superman's face and it made him look about 20 years older. Nobody liked it.
That was the first 2 seasons Justice League.
Yeah, and then they got rid of those lines, and Superman looked like Superman again.
Yeah.
It's become a bit of a meme online, I know, among fans of that show. So yeah, I get why they wouldn't put much more detail on Superboy's face, because there's a danger of that. Ends up looking like fucking Mickey Rooney or something, you know? Yeah.
Oh God! Now all I'm thinking of is that scene from The Simpsons.
Jiminy Jillikers. Jiminy Jillikers. Up and at them. Anyway, yeah, 7.75. I think that's a fair score. I can't think of anything else I really want to say on this episode, to be honest. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you next week. Bye.